Hello everybody and welcome back to Expert Examiner IELTS. My name is Glyn and in this video I'm going to assess a candidate's speaking performance focusing specifically on lexical resource. So in my last video I gave a theory video, an explanation of what lexical resource is, and I looked at the different requirements for bands 4, 5, 6 and 7. In today's video, I'm going to review a video on Ross IELTS Academy. The student overall was given a score of 5.0, but as I say, I'm only going to focus on the lexical resource, so the vocabulary. I'm not going to give any comments about pronunciation, fluency and coherence, or about grammatical range and accuracy, only lexical resource. So let's jump in. Ooh, not this one.
From here starts the speaking test. This is the speaking mock test of the International English Language Testing System taking place in Ross IELTS Academy. The candidate is Sara Sheikh Mahboubi, candidate number.
So again, I really like that the examiner knows her stuff here. She's starting with the nice instructions, very formal, very proper, exactly how it would be in a real test. Good stuff.
01432111. The examiner is Mernoush Shafi, examiner number 443533. Good evening, my name is Mernoush Shafi. Would you please tell me your full name?
Good afternoon, sure. My name is Sara Sheikh Mahboubi.
What can I call you?
Sara.
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 Sure. Can I see your identification, please?
Sure. Here you go.
Thank you very much. Great.
So none of this stuff is graded, of course. She's doing fine so far.
So we can now get started with the first part of the exam. I say it again.
Yes.
It happens to us all.
No, okay. So we can now get started with the first part of the exam. In the first part, I will ask you some personal questions. First, I'd like to ask about your family. How often do you visit your family?
I usually visit my family 2 or 3 times a week. I have
So a couple of items of vocabulary connected to frequency, usually 2 or 3 times a week. Okay.
a 3-year-old daughter, but I really need to
Nice little adjective there, a 3-year-old daughter, not a 3 years old daughter, but the compound adjective, a 3-year-old daughter. That's decent.
see my family regularly in the week.
Another adverb of frequency, regularly, decent.
Do you want to live with your family in the future?
Absolutely, yes. I hope that it's be true.
Are you close to all of your family members?
Particularly, I am really close to my parents.
So I think she said particularly, a bit of a problem with pronunciation, but particularly is okay, especially, maybe I prefer particularly in a different position, like I am particularly close to, but particularly I am close to is not bad. But position of the adverb is more about grammar.
But I like my siblings too.
Siblings is a decent word too, it's okay.
Okay, thank you very much. Now we can move on to the next topic. Let's talk about school activity. Did you have many activities to do in your school?
Unfortunately, I'm not a student, but
Unfortunately, nice adverb of comment.
I have been studying on myself, by myself, in home. I've been working, but I used to,
So mixing up the preposition there, I've been studying myself, or I've been studying by myself, but I think she said for myself, so wrong collocation, but not a critical problem.
used to many activities when I was a student at university.
No paraphrase there. So in the examiner's question, there was something about many activities, and also in the candidate's answer, she's using many activities. So if she wants a higher level for lexical resource, she should look at trying to paraphrase. So instead of many activities, maybe a wide range of varieties or a lot of different things. That's fine, a lot of different things.
University or college.
Can you mention a cherished school activity that you have really enjoyed?
That's a strange question for part one. A cherished school activity. I would be very surprised if that was an official question. A cherished activity. There are so many students at, level anything below a 6 would potentially have a problem with the word cherished.
Yes, yes, I remember that. If you ask me, I remember that.
Okay, if you ask me, it's not really used naturally, but it is a nice, so that we have this speech function of giving opinions, and of course there are so many different constructions, right? As far as I'm concerned, to my mind, if you ask me, in my opinion, there are lots of those, and it looks like she's trying to activate something that she's learnt, but she's not massively sure about it. She's just trying to use it. And so while it's good that she's trying to use it, for me, I'm thinking, that looks obviously like a piece of memorized language, but it's okay.
Many activities like playing various kind of sports in school, like Zoom.
So some of her pronunciation makes it difficult to understand her vocab. I did pick up the word various. It was mispronounced, but still various is a nice word.
Like volleyball and other sports that I really like to do.
What kind of extra?
So she likes this word like. Like is a very high frequency vocabulary item. It's normal that students will use it a lot, but it's one of those words where, there are many other alternatives, but nothing wrong with using like.
Curricular activities do schools offer in your country for a student?
For students in my country.
So you can see again, there's no paraphrasing this. She's just repeating the language back. For students in my country. The question was, what extracurricular activities are there available for students in your country? And she answers, for students in my country. So this ability to paraphrase, it is important, especially if you want to get a 7, you have to paraphrase well. If you want a 6, you have to paraphrase with some success. If you want a 5, you have to attempt some paraphrases, and band 4s don't try to paraphrase at all.
In my country. Sorry, can I repeat the last question?
Yes,
please?
I can repeat the question. What kind of extracurricular activities do schools offer in your country for a student?
For students, unfortunately, nowadays in my country, the resources is very low, and many people have very low income, and the price of private school is very high, but it's very different between.
So I am not going to comment on fluency and coherence, but just as a small tip, it seems quite obvious that the candidate doesn't quite understand the question. And so she asked to repeat. The examiner repeated the question, but I still think that the candidate doesn't understand the question, so she's speaking about something else. I would simply advise her to say, I'm very sorry, or I'm terribly sorry, or I'm awfully sorry, but I don't know what extracurricular activities are. Could you explain, or could we move on to another question? Now, in part 1, the examiner won't paraphrase or explain questions, but certainly the candidate can ask to move on. It seems like she's wasting time and losing points by trying to answer a question. So be brave. It's possible that it will happen to you, even if you are 6, 7, even 8 sometimes. You might not understand a question. Don't waste time on questions you don't understand. Be brave and just say, I'm terribly sorry. I don't understand what this question means. Could we move on to another one? It's okay.
Between private school and public school.
Thank you very much. Now let's move on to talk about memory. Do you have a good memory?
Okay, this part 1 has gone on long enough. I think I'm going to go to part 2.
No, I haven't. Very good.
And in
Okay, so just a little bit of feedback on part one. So part one has personal questions, so these should be familiar topics. So of course part one is the easiest part of the test. So far the candidate shows that she has enough good vocab to talk about everyday subjects, about familiar subjects. However, her paraphrasing is a little bit weak. She does use a decent variety of words, especially those frequency words, you know, often, regularly, 2 or 3 times a week. A couple of other decent vocabulary items there too. So she's okay speaking about familiar topics. She should paraphrase more. Let's see how she does in part 2.
this part, you should describe an energetic person you know. Now you have 1 minute to...
So again, I mispronounce words, and that's absolutely fine. But I think as the examiner really should prepare for her job here, energetic, and her pronunciation was energetic. What was it?
Perfect. So now I'm going to give you a piece of paper, your cue card, and a pen so that you can make notes.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And in this part, you should describe an energetic person you know.
An energetic. Like, there's nothing wrong. As an examiner, you can slow your speech down a little bit, right? We have different types of voices that we all use. We have our conversational voice and we have our presentation voice. So my conversational voice kind of sounds like this, and if I'm talking to my friends, I'm like, oh, what are you doing later? Are you going out? Nah, I don't really think about it. When we have our presentation voice, so if I'm doing a YouTube video, or if I'm teaching a lesson, or if I'm examining, it's okay for me to use my examiner voice. I want to give the candidate every opportunity to understand me. Now, I'm hopefully, as an examiner, certainly, trying not to lose the fluency and the flow and the rhythm of my speech, but I'm still trying to pronounce things in very clear ways. And I think maybe the examiner's just speaking a little bit too quickly. Now, it's okay here because the candidate will see the cue card and they will be able to read it. But that mispronunciation of energetic just feels, I don't know, a little bit unprofessional. But it's okay. It can happen to the best of us.
Now you have 1 minute to think about this topic, and your 1 minute starts now.
So are they going to fast forward?
Okay, now your 1 minute is over, and you may talk about this topic for 2 minutes, but do not worry if I stop you. So your 2 minutes start now.
I'm going to talk about one of my friends that I know her many times. She's one of my best friends, and she...
Okay, many times for a long time. Wrong vocabulary item.
Has a lot of energy, and she's...
Small paraphrase, so instead of saying she's energetic, she has a lot of energy, so she changed the part of speech. That's all right.
She's very kind and humiliate, and she's also generous.
Very kind and humiliate. Okay. So she's making an attempt to try to use the adjectives of character, adjectives of personality that she uses, but notice the words that she used, like kind and generous. Those are quite basic words. We study, how ways of describing a person's character at all levels of English, from A1 to C2. But the words that she's using are more A2-ish. Now, of course, in IELTS, we do expect, even for high-level students, a range of simple and less commonly known lexes. So it's okay that she's using kind and generous, but really this is an opportunity for her to use some higher-level vocab.
I know her. We met each other when we were at school.
Okay, so she's already said that she's known her for a long time, using different language, and now she's saying, like, I met her at school, which is kind of saying the same thing.
And We are going a lot of adventure with each other. Firstly, we are going on a short trip with her regularly in years, in many years. And we experience a lot of adventure type of.
Okay, so she's used the word adventure twice in the last 15, 20 seconds.
Of activities like mountain climbing and camping with her. She's always has a lot of positive energy, and she's encouraged me to do and to be active, and. What kind of, for example...
I like that she's using her notes here, right? So she made full use of that 1 minute. She's run out of things to say, and she's gone back to her notes, and now that allows her to continue. So it shows the importance of taking notes. That's good from the candidate.
One of our experience by my friend is going ice climbing. That is very hard, and we had very...
Thank you very much. Now your turn.
I'm not sure what ice climbing is. Perhaps that is an activity. I've never heard of it, so I'm not sure. And in such cases, I try to give the candidate the benefit of the doubt, right? There are lots of things in this world that I don't know a lot about. I try to... I consider myself to be quite a well-rounded, balanced person with a lot of different interests, but certainly ice climbing could be a thing. I'm not sure if it's a thing, so I certainly wouldn't remove points or deduct points, or that wouldn't negatively affect the mark if I was examining.
2 minutes is over, and we can move on to the third part.
So again, usually at the end of part 2, there's a rounding off question, like one short, fast question to end part 2 to take us into part 3. The examiner hasn't done that, but that's okay. I don't always do that when I examine students either.
If you can just give me the paper, thank you.
All right, so before we get into part 3, some comments. So I didn't really feel like there was enough variety of language there. I felt like the language that she used wasn't really connected much to energy. So she had to speak about an energetic person, and that would have allowed her to use, I don't know, terms like bursting with energy, and she had to talk about some of the causes. Well, why do you feel that she's an energetic person? She didn't really answer that question, which is a problem with fluency and coherence, not with vocabulary, but that would have allowed her to use some vocab talking about the reasons why. Maybe it's because of her upbringing, maybe she had like parents who really motivated her and encouraged her to look at the positive side of life and things like this, but none of that high-level vocab, very basic words like kind and generous and good, and some inaccuracies like I know her for many time instead of for a long time or something like this. So yeah, not great so far. We'll see how she does in part 3. Now part 3 will have unfamiliar topics, and this is the key thing to determine whether I'm going to give her a 4, 5 or 6. So at the moment I'm I'm not sure. At the moment I'm thinking about 5, but certainly a very weak performance could pull her down to a 4, and a very strong performance could push her up to a 6. Let's see.
Okay then. In the second part, we've been talking about an energetic person, and now I would like to ask you some questions related to this topic.
Again, I just feel like the examiner could slow her speech down a little bit. She doesn't need to waste too much time saying things too slowly, but she should know at this point that the candidate doesn't have a very high level of English, and so maybe she should take care to make sure that she's pronouncing things in a comfortable pace, in a clear voice. She just seems rushing a little bit.
Do you think people doing laborious jobs are paid well?
But she answers, okay, so the instructions were a little bit fast, but I really like the way she answers, she asks this question. She's very deliberate, and the words are very clear and easy to understand, if you know the vocab.
Sorry, would you mind repeating that question?
Do you think that people doing laborious jobs are paid well?
I would be surprised if that was a question in the real IELTS thing too. People doing laborious jobs, I don't know, maybe manual work or hard labor, but laborious jobs.
Laborious job. In my point of view, in my country,
So nice, do you think? And then she's using in my point of view. Of course, from my point of view is better, but she is attempting a paraphrase there. Not with perfect success, but there's an attempt at a paraphrase.
there are a lot of low-income people that worked more than
Low-income people, maybe people with low-income jobs or people with low incomes, maybe. I don't know, low-income people. Kind of a strange collocation, but it's okay.
8 hours a day and have a lot of and they struggle a lot to meet their ends meet.
She's close, so she's showing some awareness of collocation here. Not full flexibility, not full control, but to make. She's looking for the term to make ends meet, but she comes up with something slightly different. Let's hear it again.
And have a lot of and they struggle a lot to meet their ends meet.
To meet their ends meet. So she's trying to say to make ends meet, but it's an attempt. It's an attempt showing some awareness of collocation and style.
Yes, there is, yes, there are a lot of high income too in my country.
And what kind of jobs require hard labor in your idea?
I think, for example, veterinarian and force worker and
yeah, so she's struggling for that language, right? So a candidate with a high level of vocabulary will know a wide range of professions, and not only will they know the professions, but they will have enough vocabulary to explain why those positions are laborious or why they require hard labor. For example, they might say, well, you know, if you're a builder, this is like a really intensive position which makes a lot of physical demands on you, right? That type of vocab would be suitable here, but she just doesn't have that vocab because it's an unfamiliar topic for her.
With I mean that work with muscles.
So why do you think people engage in such activities? Or
cool, really like this from the examiner. So many of these tests that I watch online, in part 3 the examiner just reads the question on the list. The examiner here is ready to step in and ask follow-up questions and push for more details. I always like this from examiners. Cool.
These jobs.
I think that's not how.
A lot of I think. Now, I think is used a lot. I use it a lot too. But again, there are so many other options that can demonstrate your paraphrase. But nothing wrong with using I think. But just be careful with how much you use it.
Have any choices to do in this situation in that time, and they have to work very hard with low wages.
Okay, some topic, like very minimal topic related language, low wages, it's okay.
And do you think that this situation is the same in all countries?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. I live in a third level country in the.
Yeah, so again, showing a bit of a lack of awareness of collocation. So third level country, of course, we have the term third world country or developing country or underdeveloped or something like this. And again, we're looking now, she has the opportunity to use words to talk about other countries, like where they have maybe more career prospects or greater financial opportunities. That's the type of high level language that she's invited to use, but she doesn't have.
Word. And for sure, many advanced economic has better jobs to do, and there has
Okay, advanced economy is okay, but has better jobs to do. Job opportunities would be great here, or career prospects, or something like this.
a lot of best opportunity to do,
Okay, we get opportunity. Nice.
To work with.
And do you think that a teacher's job is also difficult?
Yes, definitely.
So let's see if we get words connected to difficulty, any paraphrases of the word difficulty, like it's hard work, or maybe even words that explain even better than simply paraphrasing the word difficult, words that explain why a teacher's job is difficult. Maybe she'll say it requires a lot of patience, or it can be stressful, or maybe there are lots of demands from your students, or there's a lot of like extra work that you have to do, like overtime work that you have to do at night, like marking homework, that type of topic specific language. Let's see if we get it.
In my view, teachers work very hard.
Work very hard, okay, but it's just no paraphrase. Can you explain why, or what features of a teacher's job make it hard?
Because they face many problems.
Okay, many problem, but again, it's basic language. What problems? Be specific, drill down, show your vocab that you can talk about specific problems that teachers face, and you'll get a higher mark. Can you do it?
With the new generation have aggressive attitude to.
Okay, the new generation has an aggressive attitude. That's all right. It's decent.
To behave in front of other people.
Thank you very much. Great. Now this is the end of the speaking test.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Now
Okay, so let's take a look at what score I would give her. I'm terribly sorry. I'm having some small technical difficulties. Just one moment. And we are up. Amazing, amazing. So let's take a look at what band 4 says. I think she's probably band 5. Only use simple words for unfamiliar topics. That is true. What do we get for band 5? Candidate can discuss familiar topics comfortably. They have enough vocab to discuss unfamiliar topics, but with some obvious limitations. I think that's more suitable. Candidate tries to paraphrase, but their paraphrases are often unclear or inappropriate. I think that's true too. So I don't think so. In band 4, the candidate doesn't really try to paraphrase at all. There are elements where she's trying to paraphrase. Of course, she uses, I think, a little bit too much, but she has used some constructions like, if you ask me. So she has made some small attempts. Candidate often uses words the wrong way. Yeah, there was this like humiliate instead of like humble or something like this. But in general, I think there is enough vocab in there. I think she does have enough variety for band 5, certainly not band 6. If you look at band 6, the candidate's paraphrases are generally okay. I wouldn't describe her paraphrases as generally okay. I would say that she sometimes attempts, but wouldn't say they're generally okay. Candidate might use the wrong word, but doesn't negatively affect the main idea. There were a few instances where the wrong word led to some confusion, and also for band 6, the candidate has enough vocabulary to speak about both familiar and unfamiliar topics at length. She doesn't have enough vocab to speak about unfamiliar topics at length, so for sure not a band 5. Not a band 6, but overall I would give her band 5 for lexical resource. There are some examiner comments here too, so let's see if we get any specific any specific feedback on lexical resource.
You can just relax and take a breath, and I'll take a few minutes to add up your score, and then I'll give you the feedback.
Thank
okay?
you very much.
You're
Thank
welcome.
you. Thank you.
Okay, so now let's get started with the feedback part. As you may know, there are 4 criteria in IELTS speaking based on which your performance will be evaluated. And the first one is your fluency and coherence.
So I have to say I really like this from the examiner too, that she's going through things in criteria. She's not doing part 1, part 2, part 3 like many examiners do, but she's going through, it looks like she's going to go through fluency and coherence, lexical resource, grammatical range and accuracy, and pronunciation. So this means that if I jump forward a little bit, I should get to lexical resource.
By working a bit on your grammar. Because the thing is, in your mind, you're thinking about the
Other
correct,
word.
and this can help you with your pauses and also sentence if it's part 1 or 3. In that case, if you need to explain more, then you can just more connectives and discourse markers, especially the connectives. Because if you just use and, so, but, because, you cannot get a high score. So instead, try to use some better alternatives for those words. For example, instead of and, you can use
Sorry about this.
Memorized some words or sentences, then it will mark you down. And your topic development is good. You had problems with the definition of some words, for example, laborious jobs, labor, when when it includes. But the good thing is that you didn't stop, you didn't say I don't know, and you gave an answer. That's
okay. So she has a different interpretation to me, and that's okay. The examiner likes that she was brave and that she tried giving an answer even though she didn't understand the question. For me, this loses critical points in coherence, and it's better simply to say, sorry, I don't understand what laborious jobs means. Can we go to the next one? As you can do this once, and I think it's okay. You don't want to do it too many times.
It's really good. That's brilliant, because this way maybe your answer is correct, right? Okay, because of all the things I mentioned, you got a 5 today in your fluency and coherence. And now to move on to your lexical resource, which is your...
Great. So sorry that it took such a long time to get there. Maybe in future I will. I try to go into these videos fresh, so I don't want to see anything. I want to show you what goes through my mind naturally when I'm assessing a candidate's performance. So I don't like to check any examiner comments about anything. So that's why it may feel a little bit sloppy and underprepared. But we're getting into the feedback on lexical resource now. Let's hear it.
Vocabulary, the next criteria. In your vocabulary, you were able to talk about different topics, as I mentioned before.
She was able to talk about familiar topics, but she wasn't able to speak about unfamiliar topics. And I hope that's mentioned, because that's something that she must work on.
Even the topics that you had no idea what.
No, she couldn't speak at length about why certain jobs were difficult. That's not fair. Sorry.
To say about. But your vocabulary range was very limited, or the ones you use.
Okay, I agree. She was able to give answers, but I wouldn't say that she had enough vocabulary to speak at length about unfamiliar topics.
Were not all correct. For example, you said humiliate. Maybe you wanted to say humble.
Okay, that is a fair point, right? That she mixed up. She got that word humiliate or something like this, she said, and that created some confusion in the listener. That's a fair point. But the most important, the most critical thing she should be saying is that she didn't have enough high-level vocab to deal specifically with the unfamiliar topics. And so, well-prepared candidates should know what type of topics can come up in part 3, and they should familiarize themselves with some of that language if they have the ability to get to a 6 or a 7. Now, I think with this candidate, she's okay, she's fine. she's a decent language learner. For many people in the world, having a score of 5, being an intermediate student, it's a pretty good success. So she speaks English fine, but we're talking about judging IELTS. I think there are other critical things, not just about higher level vocab, a lot more critical things in her speech. But yeah, the biggest problem with lexical resource wasn't this humiliate versus humble. Let's see if we get other feedback.
Normal person or low income people, for example, you say it's a low income job. Or meet the ends meet, I guess you said, to make the ends meet.
Yeah, but at least give her some credit for this, because she tried to activate some higher level vocab, and it does show some awareness of collocation, and we should give her some credit for this. Not everybody knows this make ends meet, and that would be an example of a really nice bit of natural idiomatic language. She just didn't quite get it right. So, give her some praise for this.
So just use the words or structures that you are sure about. First, try.
Yeah, that's easy to say. You try to use the constructions that you're sure about. But as I'm a language learner myself, and I understand that, and you'll know this also if you play a musical instrument, right? You can sit at home and you play your guitar or you play your piano and you play it well. When you have to play in front of people, you think you know how to play that well, and suddenly, because of the pressure, you don't. And probably it's the same with this candidate. Before the test, I'm sure she learned make ends meet, and I'm sure she could use it correctly. But the pressure of the test, being nervous, knowing that, thousands of people are going to watch you on YouTube, perhaps that plays a role in why she made that mistake. But in general, I agree. Use terms that you're comfortable with.
Try to be error-free, then add.
Try to be error-free. Yeah, I think she's making the point. Try to be error-free and then add something, right? So like anything, get the foundation, try to get as much control over the foundation as possible, and then look to add small bits on top of this. I agree with that advice. That's cool.
Add more vocabulary and collocations to your speaking, and other than that, a better paraphrasing is what you need. Because
cool. Please give examples of better paraphrasing. I understand it's very difficult when you're an examiner. You must maintain the conversation. Also, you're trying to take notes and you're trying to evaluate the speaker's performance. You can't always do everything. But whenever we give advice to candidates, we want to be specific. So I really hope we get some specific cases or specific details of her poor paraphrasing and some alternatives so that she can see exactly what she can do to improve this.
Because when the examiner asks you a question, this is really good that you use fillers and boosters to buy yourself some time, and then...
What is it with all of the world talking about fillers and boosters? Okay.
Develop the topic, but the thing is that you can still paraphrase better. Like I say, for example, do you...
We're gonna get an example. So, for example, I said, do you enjoy
going out with your friends? You can say, I have a great time hanging out with my friends. Or,
cool, I agree. Many different ways, synonyms for like and enjoy. Certainly learn a bunch of those. They're quite easy, very natural.
or I do love spending time with my friends. Yes. So you can...
Yeah, this adding the auxiliary, I do love spending time with my friends. It seems to be a favourite among a lot of candidates, but I think it can be a bit risky. Sometimes it can sound a little strange.
Use direct synonyms to paraphrase the examiner's question or your own sentences. This is about your vocabulary, and now your grammar.
Okay, so unfortunately she didn't give her a score specifically for her lexical resource, but that's okay. So yeah, to recap, in general I gave her 5.0. In general, I gave her 5.0 for her lexical resource. I think as an English speaker, she's okay, she's fine, she can communicate her ideas more or less in a straightforward, simple, easy to understand way. But yeah, 5.0 for lexical resource. Improve paraphrasing and try to increase your familiarity with less commonly known vocab, but that's a difficult thing to do, takes a long time, and this video isn't about guidance, it's only about evaluation. But if you do have any questions about anything from today's video, please feel free to get in touch. And also to remind you, nobody's watching these YouTube videos at the moment. This channel is very new, and who knows, maybe we will get viewers in the future. But at the moment, if you would like to have your own practice IELTS speaking test with a high level of feedback and details, please get in touch. I will arrange that. I have received, I think, 4 or 5 requests. So over the next couple of days, we're going to see some of my own speaking tests on this channel. Anyway, I'll leave it there. Have a wonderful morning, afternoon, evening, night, wherever you are, and take care. See you. Bye bye.